For Uganda, the Tilenga project is being described as something much more than just a massive energy infrastructure build.
Oh, absolutely.
Sources are calling it a game changer, a foundational pillar, even a cornerstone of economic transformation.
Hmm.
So this isn't just about digging for oil. It's really about strategically reorienting an entire national economy.
And what's fascinating here, for me, is the sheer audacity of the numbers that back up that claim. I mean, we are looking at a targeted production capacity of 230,000 barrels of oil per day.
Per day.
Per day, BOPD. And to put that in perspective for you, achieving that kind of capacity, it doesn't just boost local energy supply.
No.
It positions Uganda as a major regional producer, strategically poised to inject, billions of dollars into its economy over the next couple of decades.
Yeah. That's why the stakes are just so high for everyone involved. In this episode of Inside the Build, we are taking a deep dive into the Tilenga project. This deep dive is supported by MANTRAC Uganda, Threeways Shipping Services Group Limited, and Inspecta Africa. Okay, so let's unpack this monumental undertaking. When we talk about a project of this scale, the geography and the strategic context are everything.
They really are.
So where exactly is Tilenga located, and how does it fit into that broader regional picture?
Well, Tilenga and the name itself comes from local terms for the Uganda Cobb, which is interesting, is situated in the Albertine Graben.
Okay.
That's north of Lake Albert, across the Bulisa and Nwea districts. It's located in a truly vast resource area, estimated to contain more than 1 billion barrels of crude.
And crucially, this isn't a standalone project, is it? It's tied into a much larger national and regional strategy. We've heard it mentioned alongside Kingfisher and ECOP.
Correct. Tilenga is really the largest component of Uganda's wider Lake Albert development project. The Kingfisher oil field is another key piece, but the critical connection,
The pipeline.
the infrastructure that makes Tilenga a global asset, is the East African Crude Oil Pipeline, or EACOP. The whole plan hinges on these three components working together seamlessly.
Operationally, that's just key, isn't it? It transforms local reserves into a genuine export opportunity. So what does this massive interconnected build mean for Uganda? What are the strategic impacts the sources are claiming?
Well, the numbers, they suggest a fundamental shift. Tilenga and Kingfisher combined are expected to produce an estimated 1.4 billion barrels of crude oil
Over how long?
over at least 20 years. For Uganda, this means, substantially reducing reliance on imported energy, a huge step toward energy independence.
Sure.
And it paves the way for industrial growth driven by these readily available power sources.
And beyond the macroeconomy, there's always that direct injection into the workforce. Infrastructure builds are inherently job generators.
Absolutely. We're talking about catalyzing thousands of direct and indirect jobs. The ripple effect is huge. It touches construction, specialized engineering services, logistics.
Hospitality, retail.
Exactly. Even supporting sectors like hospitality and retail. When we talk about economic transformation, we aren't just talking about GDP. We are talking about creating a trained, specialized workforce that sustains growth long after the initial construction is done.
Let's move now to the actual physical structure of the build. We're talking about 6 fields spanning 110,000 hectares. How can we simplify this system? What are the, say, 3 major stages, and what does each one actually do?
Operationally, we can break it down into upstream extraction, midstream processing, and then the downstream export and energy management.
Okay, starting upstream.
So upstream, the extraction requires 426 total petroleum wells across 31 different locations.
426 wells. That sounds like an incredible density of drilling. What's the split there, and why is that ratio so important?
It's a very precise mix, and it illustrates some really advanced reservoir management. We have 196 oil-producing wells and, critically, 200 water-injecting wells.
So almost a 1-to-1 ratio.
Almost exactly, plus a few pilot and reference wells. But that near 1-to-1 ratio is highly strategic. It ensures pressure maintenance in the reservoir, maximizing long-term recovery while managing the water that's produced. This is about efficiency and longevity, not just, rapid extraction.
I see. And that extracted crude then needs processing? Here's where it gets really interesting. What does that midstream system look like?
That crude flows through a vast 160-kilometer network of flow lines and buried pipelines.
Wow.
And they all feed into the heart of the system. The Central Processing Facility, or CPF, in Kisinji Village. The CPF is basically the project's purification unit. Its job is to clean the crude, get rid of impurities like water, sand, salts, and associated gas.
And the third stage, energy management and export, that seems to be a key element of the project's self-sufficiency plan.
Precisely. This is where the engineering just maximizes resource use. The produced water is reinjected, which solves a waste challenge while supporting the reservoir pressure. And crucially, the associated gas isn't just flared off. It's processed into LPG for sale. And it's used to generate power for the entire CPF treatment process.
So it powers itself.
It makes the facility highly self-sufficient, yes.
And what about any excess power that gets generated? That's not wasted either, I assume.
Nope. Any excess power, which is significant, is exported to the national grid via a 132 kilovolts transmission line.
Furthering Uganda's energy goals.
Exactly. Then finally, the clean crude travels through a new 95-kilometer, 24-inch diameter feeder pipeline. Impressive bit of engineering in itself, from the CPF to Kabila, where it connects directly to the EACOP for transport to the coast in Tanzania.
That describes the system, which is just incredibly complex. But a system of this scale requires an equally complex delivery model. So let's look at the executive landscape. Who are the key players actually driving this project?
The ownership structure is quite clear. Total Energies holds the lead operator position with a 56.67% stake. Their primary partners are the China National Offshore Oil Corporation, CNOC, with 28.33%, and then the Uganda National Oil Company, UNOC, with 15%.
So a mix of international expertise and state ownership.
Right. That partnership structure is really the engine of the whole investment.
And at the government level, who's providing the essential oversight?
That oversight is handled by key national figures. You have Uganda's Minister of Energy and Mineral Development, Dr. Ruth Nankabirwa, and the UNOC CEO, Praskovia Nabanja. They're both cited as central voices overseeing progress toward that crucial milestone.
Which is first oil in H1 2025.
That's the one.
So let's shift to execution. Who has the monumental task of actually delivering the physical build?
Well, this massive construction required a full package contract, or what we call EPCC.
Engineering, procurement, construction, and commissioning.
Right, and that contract, valued at roughly $2 billion, was jointly awarded to McDermott and Sinopec. And the logistics involved are just staggering. McDermott is coordinating from London, Sinopec from Yangzhou. It requires mobilizing and synchronizing these huge specialized teams into Uganda.
And what about the really specialized work, the things that complement that massive EPCC package?
We see critical specialist contracts being executed by global players. For instance, Schlumberger was awarded the contract for drilling, completions, and production services.
The technical heart of it?
Exactly. And then Expo Group holds a 5-year contract focused on well intervention and integrity. These contracts show you the sheer depth of specialized technical services that are required.
We also saw major civil works broken out to players like Moda Engel. They secured specific components like a $37.9 million contract for site prep and another for $60.3 million for general civil works.
And breaking out the civil works like that into these big chunks is a really strategic move. It mitigates the risk of a single point of failure on that enabling infrastructure and makes sure the foundations, the roads, the base camps, the industrial area are robustly and efficiently established for a project that's meant to last decades.
Okay, let's zero in on those engineering highlights. What stands out to you as the most complex or challenging aspect of the build that really illustrates this need for precision?
Well, the scale is one thing, but the required precision is another. The mass drilling operation is a great example. We're talking about 426 total wells being drilled.
Right.
The sources highlight 4 specialized rigs currently in operation, like the CNOOC Uganda Limited LR8001 rig, which can drill up to 8,000 meters deep.
8,000 meters.
That depth and density ensure they maximize resource utilization across all 6 production areas as efficiently as possible.
And beyond the drilling, the sheer capacity of the CPF is a highlight designed to handle 230,000 barrels per day.
Yes, that capacity underpins the whole strategic goal of the project. But the real engineering marvel, and what makes the execution so incredibly complex, is the Murchison Falls constraint.
Ah, yes. The national park.
Development is limited to less than 1% of the parkland, and the facilities inside the park will cover less than 0.03% of the surface area during operation, with only 10 wells drilled there.
That constraint is a massive operational driver, isn't it? I mean, it means every single piece of infrastructure in that sensitive area has to be designed with a minimal, almost invisible footprint.
Absolutely. That sub 1% and sub 0.03% restriction, it just mandates highly advanced and extremely strict preventive drilling and operational measures. It's a true test of specialized environmental engineering and regulatory compliance.
It forces the contractors to use the absolute latest technologies.
No question.
And let's not forget the enabling infrastructure that makes the whole operational phase possible in the first place.
We can't. The project requires developing new roads, a permanent base camp, building out the whole CPF industrial area. The installation of over 130 conductor pipes by the East African Piling Company has already laid the groundwork for the well pads. This foundational work establishes the long-term, reliable backbone for a multi-decade project.
This brings us to logistics. Moving this massive amount of equipment from $2 billion of EPCC materials to 8,000-meter drill rigs. It's a logistics challenge all on its own. How is the supply chain supporting this build?
The national content strategy is paramount here. It's not just an afterthought, it's a mandated requirement. The goal is to maximize the use of Ugandan manpower, goods, and services, driving capacity building and ensuring the economic benefits stay in the country.
Operationally, that means demanding local partners step up and meet some pretty serious international standards.
Exactly. And this robust local sourcing ensures the supply chain extends far beyond just the construction phase, fostering business expansion for Ugandan enterprises. Our sources cite specific partners driving this. Like for critical haulage and heavy transport, Threeways Shipping Services Group is involved. For machinery and support, MANTRAC Uganda Ltd., the exclusive dealer for Caterpillar products, is a key player.
And what about the specialized equipment for the actual extraction process?
That's critical too. Inspecta Africa, for example, is supplying key surface wellheads, trees, valves, and actuators. These partnerships are essential. They don't just move materials, they embed the Tilenga project as a catalyst for long-term industrial capability and training right there in Uganda.
Now, the context around Lake Albert demands special attention to environmental and community commitments. This isn't just about regulatory approval, it's baked into the operating license. So what key measures have been engineered into the project design?
The safeguards are robust and multifaceted. On the environmental side, Total Energies has focused on engineering low-emission projects. This includes strategic moves like LPG extraction, specifically to substitute for biomass burning in local markets.
Which helps reduce deforestation.
Right. They're also implementing the solarization of the EACOMP pipeline and, crucially, using that associated gas for heating and power, which severely limits greenhouse gas emissions compared to just flaring it.
And the Tilenga biodiversity program seems like a massive endeavor in itself.
It is. It's a huge commitment. The program focuses on 4 key pillars, including strengthening ecological resilience in the Murchison Falls protected area. Specific measures include protecting 10,000 hectares of natural forest and actively restoring another 1,000 hectares of tropical forest. These are major financial and operational commitments running parallel to the core build.
Now, community and resettlement, and this is often the most sensitive part of any large infrastructure project. The numbers here are staggering.
They are. The project impacts 18,800 stakeholders, landowners, and land users. This required the mandatory relocation of 775 primary residences. The sources confirm over 70,000 people were consulted during the design and planning phases.
70,000.
That number alone shows you the required level of public engagement.
So the sources indicate that 90% of project-affected persons, or PAPs, have accepted compensation. But how does the project ensure that the remaining 10% don't become a bottleneck or a PR risk, potentially delaying that first oil deadline?
That is the critical risk management challenge in any resettlement plan. And while the sources do confirm 90% acceptance, the governance framework requires continuous, transparent engagement with those outstanding cases. And the project demonstrates its commitment through action. 105 fully constructed houses have already been completed for Tilenga PPs, fitted with solar lighting and a 5,000-liter rainwater tank.
So it's not just talk.
It's a powerful demonstration of a long-term commitment.
And alongside that, livelihood improvement programs are also running.
Exactly. We see 400 enterprises have been trained in total, and significantly 137 of those were led by women and youth since 2021. This shows a concurrent social investment, building local economic capacity while the civil works are still underway.
When we look at the investment framework, the financial and regulatory side, the sources repeatedly stress this robust governance framework. Why is that so essential here?
It serves multiple purposes. First, it ensures compliance with stringent international standards, which you need to secure financing and political backing. Second, it mandates transparent reporting and continuous audits, which is critical for stakeholder trust. This framework is what protects the massive financial investment. It's the project's insurance policy, really.
And that framework is intrinsically linked to those engineering constraints we talked about earlier.
Absolutely. The commitment to reducing the Murchison Falls operational footprint to less than 0.03% isn't a suggestion. It's a hard compliance challenge mandated by that framework. It demonstrates that the investment in standards is as massive and non-negotiable as the investment in the steel and concrete for the CPF.
Looking ahead now, what are the key performance indicators for success that executives tracking this project should be watching most closely?
Our sources define three main outcomes. Number one is schedule adherence. The entire regional energy strategy really hinges on achieving first oil in H1 2025. Any major deviation there has a huge impact.
What's the second KPI?
Economic yield. The project is designed not just to break even, but to significantly elevate Uganda's GDP and attract subsequent foreign investment. And that yield is helped by relatively low production costs, which makes it competitive globally.
And finally, the regional impact.
Regional integration. Tilenga is explicitly integral to the broader initiatives of the East African community. It's about promoting energy cooperation and economic integration across borders, especially with that EACOP connection to Tanzania.
Yeah.
So the success of Tilenga is also measured by its contribution to regional stability.
And the long-term vision confirms this is a multi-decade commitment with plans for expansion, increased capacity, and even future integration of renewables. This is clearly positioning Uganda for a sustained future in the energy sector.
Okay, let's distill this deep dive down into three actionable executive takeaways about the Tilenga build. First, national impact. Tilenga is framed as a massive economic catalyst. It's securing energy supply and driving local enterprise growth through that mandated national content strategy, which is essential for maximizing the benefits that are retained within Uganda.
Okay, number two.
Second, engineering complexity. The project demands precision engineering, balancing that massive scale, 426 wells, 230,000 BOCT capacity, with critical environmental constraints. Specifically, those rigorous limits inside Murchison Falls National Park. Compliance there is the biggest operational challenge.
Then finally.
And finally, long-term significance. This is a multi-decade commitment. It's supported by a robust governance framework and extensive community investment, which makes it absolutely crucial for Uganda's future economy and integral to broader East African regional energy security.
Our final provocative thought for you, the listener. Given the vast commitment to biodiversity and community initiatives running alongside the $2 billion construction contracts, how will future infrastructure projects balance these two equally massive and sometimes competing investment streams? That's it. Thanks for joining us in Inside the Build. We will see you next time.